This is Jane Low, and I'm here at the L.E.K office here in Singapore, the CBD area of Singapore. And with me today, I'm very pleased and very privileged to have Grant Wright, who is the General Manager of Market and AI Product at L.E.K. So thank you so much, Grant, for your time today.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Yeah, thank you. So, Grant, you had a presentation earlier to talk about, how the unified platform is transforming a lot of the services that you're providing to the clients, your clients, and also the users. But one sort of a key technology that's powering this platform is, of course, AI, and AI is all the rage nowadays, especially with ChatGPT and all that. So can you tell us, from your observations with talking with your clients, the users, your partners, what are some of the anecdotal sort of observations that you have about how transformative this generative AI is bringing to everybody's lives?
Yeah, I think almost everyone has been using ChatGPT or something like it in some element of their lives. Personally, I find it really useful to write children's bedtime stories. So that's my tip. So everyone can see the power of the technology for different activities. I think we're still waiting to see it really transform organizations and productivity. We can see pockets of insight, but doing that well at scale is quite hard. There's some early activity going on right now around customer service and using it in those customer interactions to answer customers' queries faster and better. But what we're finding there is still the good technology knows when it can't answer the question and passes it to a human rather than making something up. So I think everyone can see the potential, and everyone's really busy trying to figure out how to harness that potential and what it means for us. And I don't think we've really uncovered that yet. So there's a lot of change. It feels like there's a lot of change coming. I suspect in a lot of areas it will be a little bit like most technology, where it takes, we overestimate the short term and we underestimate the long term. That said, the pace of change that we're seeing is unlike anything we've seen before.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the hype versus the reality part of it, but before we come into that, right, I just want to quickly ask you, you mentioned earlier that you have about 40 million candidates profile on your platform, right?
Yeah, we have over 2 billion interactions with job ads on our platform every year. We see about 500 million applications, and then our search engine, our AI-powered search engine, is handling thousands of requests every second. So we see a lot of data on job activity and preferences across Asia.
That's right, yeah, fantastic statistics there. And how is Gen AI transforming some of this data into sort of actionable, usable sort of intelligence for your users, and also, I guess, for your clients as well? How do you see that transforming some of your services that you provide to, externally?
Yeah, I think the first is just making sense of and making accessible a lot of information that's always been there, either through summarizing it so people can get to the insights. So like job ads, CVs, there's a lot of unstructured text there. There's been a lot of effort to wade through CVs and get all of the information. Now generative AI can help us summarize that. So that's one.
That's right.
And then I think the other is on the user experience side, where actually right up till now, we've had to do a lot of work to translate what we think into a way a machine can understand it, right? Quite structured, a special kind of language. Even to talk to a search engine today can be the way you structure your query. You have to think about, how am I going to write this? And we've seen over time that getting better and better in search. But I think in general, you're going to see a transformation where people can talk like you and I are talking in their own language and get the results they want, because the AI can now understand it and it can do the heavy lifting. And I think that'll open up new ways of interacting. Voice is one.
That's right, yeah.
But there are more coming, and probably some coming that we can't think about today. We don't understand what that's going to look like, but I'm sure there'll be new interfaces coming.
Oh yeah, very exciting. I mean, just thinking about, back 3 months ago, where I saw at the Singapore FinTech Festival, they were celebrating this generative AI capability of creating a profile of myself talking in a different language. But, fast forward 3 months later, that is nothing new anymore. But back 3 months ago, it was like, wow, So you also highlighted about how responsible AI is very important as part of your journey to adopt AI. Can you tell us how Gen AI is perhaps making that more important? internally in terms
Yeah.
of your internal policies and frameworks?
So I think anytime you're using technology to automate something, you need to be careful that you're understanding the data that you're training on, and you're understanding the risks in that data. And unfortunately, we humans are full of conscious and unconscious bias, and so we need to be thoughtful about both how we're using that data and making sure we're not entrenching bad decisions, but also knowing that AI is essentially a prediction, and that means it will be wrong some of the time. And so knowing when it's wrong, how you're using the AI, and what the impact of being wrong to any one individual is, and are you okay with that? And so for us, that means using AI to help people, but never to not show you a job, or not let you apply to a job, or not show your application to a hirer. That's a step too far for us in how we use AI, because if the AI is wrong, we then lock someone out of an employment opportunity. Generative AI, I think, makes that complicated because it enables the generation of text, so it becomes very difficult to know what is true and what is false and what is human generated or not. So imagine a world where we both have generative AI bots doing this interview on behalf of our human selves, and my AI bot is lying to your AI bot. How do we know that? And how do the listeners know that these are human beings?
Deepfakes or synthetic voice and synthetic faces and all that, right?
All of that. And so as the technology gets better and that becomes more common, these are the things we're going to have to face into. And so trust and reliability and those signals will become more important. And people are going to have to make decisions around, am I building my product to interact with a human or with AI? Both can be the right answer, but these are the types of questions that are coming for us.
Yeah, earlier when you were doing a presentation, a question occurred to me that, you were talking about how AI can help clients write, job profiles. And putting on my sort of cybersecurity hat, I have also heard how AI is helping some of the threat actors write phishing emails, right? So from that perspective, how do you see signs of candidates and users writing fake fake resumes, posting fake profiles? Have you seen that at scale yet, or is that emerging?
I think what we're generally seeing is most people acting in good faith using these tools for productivity, and sometimes that can mean that it generates something that doesn't get reviewed properly or sounds good when they use it and is maybe a stretch of the truth. So we haven't seen it at scale causing major problems. What we do see in the market a lot on the hirer side is attempts to create fake job ads and scams and issues around fair hiring and those kind of things. So we, having control of our platform, it's a big responsibility for us to vet every hire and make sure every job is a real job in the market where it's advertised. But this type of technology makes those kind of things much easier at scale. So if companies aren't doing that, it becomes a big risk.
Right. And of course, earlier you talked about, how much of an assignment, or rather I talked about how much of an assignment ChatGPT is generating, right? And we briefly touched on, how much of it is hype versus reality. And of course, when we talk about the job markets, and then we talk about AI, the biggest question is how is it impacting, the job market? So how much do you think is of a hype in terms of how AI is transforming, or rather Gen AI is transforming the job market, and how much of it is a reality in terms of how much it will disrupt the current sort of jobs that we traditionally know, right? And do you see any sort of differences in terms of countries or regions?
I see differences in different perspectives, and so I think a lot of people who've experienced ChatGPT and seen the potential that it has, which we all, I think, are excited about, but don't have experience in the hard graft of delivering AI at scale that is correct and reliable and trustworthy and adds value, they're probably overestimating how quickly a lot of these benefits will come, because there's still a lot of challenges to overcome, and I think that's why we haven't seen massive transformation, although I think we'll see it faster than we have in the past. And so some people are overestimating it. I think particularly some technical people tend to, maybe not so much anymore, but very early on underestimated how big a change this was. Like, AI's been around since the 50s. We've seen large language models before. Actually, what it enables for the users and the business problems is quite transformational. And so I've seen both spectrums of people under and overestimating it. As always, the answer's somewhere in the middle. as for jobs, I think jobs are a bundle of tasks, and what you'll see is some tasks get automated away, other tasks change or grow in demand. And so if I take if you said innovation like drone last mile delivery, right? So delivering packages by drone, that takes away the task of last mile delivery, the courier drivers, less demand for that. It increases the demand for drone programmers and maintenance. It requires new skills around packaging and warehousing to create packages that can be delivered by drone and package them in smaller ways. It also makes delivery to rural areas much lower cost, and you can do that more frequently. So it could actually grow demand for services. So it's really complex in how this plays out. I think the one thing we're certain of is there'll be a lot of change. So our role is to think about, it's hard to predict what's going to change. We know that change is kind of the new advantage. And so how do we prep people with understanding their skills, different career paths, how they can use those? Those are the types of products through the JobStreet app and others we're investing in, because that's the best path. Trying to predict exactly what's going to happen is very hard. But preparing people for change and what they can do is pretty exciting, I think.
So talking about preparing people for what is the change that's coming, what is your advice for candidates? What's your advice for employers? What's your advice for business owners?
So I think my advice for all of them is prepare for change, because that is the one certain
AI,
thing.
Right?
And embrace AI. Right. So if you're not using AI in your daily life, if you're not learning about it,
do it.
I think you should start doing it. And we are all using AI in our daily lives, whether we know it or not. But experimenting with it, trying some new tools, being cautious, but also being open to use it and try and learn. I think what you'll find is AI is a tool. It can be very helpful. And the sooner you learn to work with it and adapt and grow your skills, the better. So for job seekers, I would say don't panic. Start exploring with AI and start using tools like what we have on JobStreet to understand your skills and your career paths if you think you're worried about potentially change in your area. I think for people hiring, again, it's focus on the skills required to do the job and what's changing in the skills, rather than being stuck to, I've always hired people with this background from this job title in these companies. Being open to more change, I think, is really important. And then for companies, I think, again, explore the opportunity. Be very mindful of how much investment it takes to get AI right. So if you're deciding to build your own internal AI capability, you want to be very sure that you have a clear strategy as to how that's going to be valuable, because a lot of it is democratizing and becoming more available commercially. So I think for most organizations, they will be buying services from their existing vendors or from new AI vendors. And there, I would say, be really careful to ask the right questions about the underlying capability and things like responsible AI. What type of data is it trained on? What are the risks? Do they understand the risks, and are they managing them? And if they say there aren't risks, that's a big red flag.
Yeah, I think that's going to be another podcast for another day, because I think that's a very interesting topic, and I think a lot of companies will be interested to, learn from your journey, right, at L.E.K, how you implement this AI program, which I understand you have for at least almost a decade now at
Yeah,
L.E.K.
that's right. We've been investing in AI for 10 years. I've been leading the team for just over 7 years. And so we've learned a lot of things the hard way. But it's not easy to get right.
So a lot of good lessons that you can share with our listeners.
So
on that note, I was just thinking back to what you said earlier, that, going forward, we might have an interview where, you have you appear as a bot and I'm a bot, and maybe that will be the next interview that we have next time.
Maybe I have an AI avatar. It can speak lots of different languages, so maybe we could do it in Bahasa.
Super interesting. Yes. So on that note, thank you so much, Grant, for your time today.
Thank you.